Well, good evening, and of course, welcome back to night 7 of the World Darts Championships. Tonight saw the return of the double session after last night's evening session and more edge of your seat darting action. Throughout the next hour or so, we'll be reviewing the 8 games from this evening, as well as predicting the 8 games we have tomorrow as we edge even closer to the Christmas break. And to offer his expert opinion alongside me, it's Cam McFarlane. Cam, firstly, how are you doing this evening?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. It's nice having you on rather than Gob, because I never get called an expert when Gob's on.
Yeah, well, he's living it up at the Alexandra Palace, isn't he? He was there for the afternoon session. Very, very jealous of him.
Yeah, I was as well. As I sat there at work today, and he's enjoying himself watching the darts. It was, a little bit jealous.
Yeah, I know, and maybe a couple of the games we thought would go a little bit closer, and I think Gob would have agreed with that one. But we'll get into that as we go along. A couple of people, G's Adventures in the chat room. Remember, let us know that you're listening. We'll try and get you some reaction as well as the show goes on. If we can't get you any, of course, then we will. Then it's all available on our social media channels. Just click on the link and it'll take you straight to our YouTube channel where you can get the full reaction with from Phil when he's speaking to the winners. So first up, the first match of the day to get us started, and it was, of course, Darius Lewandowskis who secured a pretty impressive comeback from 3-2 down over John O'Shea. And Cam, at 2-0 up, John O'Shea must have been pinching himself.
Yeah, this was one that I think me and God both fancied would go quite close today, but it didn't look like doing for those first couple of sets. And John O'Shea looked like he kind of was just the one that was getting over the line when it mattered. But good comeback that from Darius. I think he's the only one so far in this tournament possibly that's come back from 2-0 down, which shows how tough it is to do at that point, because you literally can't make a mistake really once you get to that spot. And yeah, I thought he wrapped it up pretty well in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've become quite accustomed to seeing what Darius Lewandowskis can play like, and 2-0 down, he really was nowhere near his best. But a 158 in there, just under 32% on his doubles, and an 83 average. I know it's not that impressive, and barring the 158, not a great performance, but I'm pretty sure he'll be happy with hanging in there and, essentially completing an unlikely comeback.
Well, exactly that. I mean, like you say, you're absolutely staring down the barrel at 2-0 down, and not the greatest performance, but it really doesn't matter so much at this stage. It's all about getting over the line in the early rounds, and we know he can play a lot better than that. We've seen, obviously, him hit the 9 last year as well. So, yeah, he's always got a little burst in his locker, and I mean, it's a good win, that, because it's not an easy tie whatsoever against John O'Shea, and I think he's done well to come through it.
Yeah, 100%. And just a final word on John O'Shea before we move on to looking at the second game. On his debut, 2-0 up in a game, very close to getting himself through to the next round. He must be absolutely gutted this evening.
He will be, yeah. But like I say, it's on his debut. He's given it a really good go. We've seen people first time up there on that stage look a lot worse than that. So puts him in a good stead, and to come back and have a real go again next year.
Yeah, 100%. And a game that took a little bit of a different way to the first game, and that was Martijn Kleermaker who demolished Zicheng Han from China in quite an impressive performance from him, winning 3-0. Not much coming back at him, Cam, and I imagine it was the performance we all expected.
Yeah, I think so. I think we sat here last night, me and Goblin both went. I think we both went with 3-0 based on the fact that we had no idea who Zicheng Han was and couldn't find anything about him to go with, really, other than the fact that I think he came second in the qualifiers, but got through based on the fact that whoever it was that won, he couldn't travel. So yeah, we were a bit stuck on where to go with this one, other than the fact that we know that Kleermaker's a good player, and when he's on, he looks really good. And looking at the game, you can see solid from G's Adventures there. I'm a fan of that. Yeah, looking at the game, he basically did what we would expect him to do, and just did a really good, solid, professional job, and got it done, really.
And I imagine that's essentially that's what you have to do, don't you, against these players who are lesser known and 77 average throughout the match. You just have to get the result and not be embroiled in a battle and I guess lower yourself to that 77 average.
Well, yeah, exactly. We've seen it. I mean, we saw it yesterday with the Jamie Hughes game yesterday. That was where they brought each other down to a level that was almost unwatchable at times, and to just hold on to what you're doing, keep your game at its level, and not drop off when there's not a lot coming back. I mean, I know, to be fair, Zicheng Han's at 4-180s, but I mean, in between that, there was a lot of not very much, and that's where the difference has been. And yeah, like I say, I think it's impressive from Cleere really to make it look that comfortable.
Yeah, and just a final word on Han. I know me and Gob touched on it the other night. I think it was I think it might have been Monday night when I was last on, and we talked about how the Asia Tour returning will benefit a lot of these Asian players. Cam, I guess for him and other players that we've seen, their game will improve with more match practice.
Yeah, definitely that. I mean, like you say, they've not had a tour for the last couple of years, really, to speak of. It's not. They've not been getting the match practice and basically coming up here cold. And I think the more they play, the more competitive matches they get in. They're going to look better, these guys, when they come over and play in these sorts of tournaments. And like you say, I mean, it will help the fact if he can make it back next year that he's already had the experience of being up there once as well, and see where he goes from there.
Yeah. So next up for Martijn Kleermaker is Chris Dobie. And obviously, I just missed off there that next up for Darius Lewandowskis is a match against Ross Smith. So that should be a tasty affair as well. If you are just joining us, of course, haven't got any interview clips at the moment. That may change. Obviously, it all depends on whether Phil manages to get them into the system. If not, then they'll all be on our social media channels, so you can get them in full with all the winners. Cam, next to the third match of the afternoon, and probably one of the most disappointing matches for me of the World Championships so far. Maybe we put too much hype on it, but it was Josh Rock who cruised past a double troubled Callan Rydz to book his place in the next round. Cam, it's hard to understand how this game has ended 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, it was an odd one. I mean, how many times would we watch Callan Rydz play and even on his worst day be better than 14% on the doubles? It's just a bit of an anomaly, really, in terms of how bad it actually was on the outer ring for him. And I mean, yeah, we all thought this was going to be the absolute tie of the round, but Josh Rock's not actually had to do that much to get over the line here. And we were thinking, yeah, I think both me and Goff fancied him to win this game, but we thought it'd be an absolute cracker and he's going to have to play it. He's pretty much his best to do so and look up to the standard we've seen him look all year. But he didn't have to do that today, just mainly down to the fact that Callum couldn't hit a barn door, basically.
Yeah, and that was this was the game I think that everyone was looking forward to. Josh Rock, I think I saw on Twitter, is now down to 8-1 to win the World Championships. I think he's fourth favourite, and Peter Wright is at a higher price than him. Cam, it's quite an incredible rise for Josh Rock. He doesn't even get out of first gear, and he's still cruising past players.
Yeah, and he is that good, but I do think it's still far too short of a price in terms of actually for winning this tournament. But then again, if he plays his best, it could happen. There's certainly no way I'm going to sit here and say that he can't do it. But first time at the Worlds, I think 8-1 and a lower price than someone that we've seen win this tournament twice already is probably a little bit too short for my money, at least.
Yeah, probably quite a few keen people getting on board him. Definitely for that. It sets up a really nice tie as well in the next round for Josh Rock against Nathan Aspinall. So that game could be a tasty one.
Give me a bit of that.
Yes, 100%. I know Jarlath commented about that, saying how much he was looking forward to that game. The final match of the afternoon, Cam, was a 180 fest. I have to put my hand up and say I didn't expect it to be like this, which saw Andrew Gilding and Dave Chisnall Chizzy had to work very, very hard for that game, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it just shows you how good Andrew Gilding is right now, to be honest. And when he set off out the box winning the first set 3-0 as well, you're thinking, Chizzy's banging trouble here. But very, very good performance, like you say, battling performance to get through. And yeah, the 180 hitting, like 14 of them in however many legs they played. What was it? 16 legs. So 14 180s between them in 16 legs. It's pretty good going, especially at this stage of the tournament. I think, yeah, just impressive from Chizzy to get over the line. Just really hit the shots when it mattered, even though he missed a few more chances than Gilding did. He took the ones at the right time and just about got himself over the line in probably what flatters him a little bit with a 3-2 win, 3-1 win, sorry.
Yeah, and you know, I know that he's out averaged Chizzy's out on the percentages, sorry, of him with 41% as Andrew Gilding Goldfinger. The rise that he has made, we know he's a solid player. We know he's a very capable player. But for him to come out like he did and to blow Chizzy away in the first set with a really impressive 1-1-2 average, it really shows that, you know, if he can sustain a level of that, he can play against some of the top players regularly.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, he's had one leg in there where it took him 17 darts to win it, but the other two in the 11 and 12, it's just outrageous, especially at the start of the game. And I think, like I kind of said there, I think Chizzy would have been thinking, hang on a minute, this isn't what I'm expecting in my first game of the tournament. But like I say, Gilding's been really good this year. We've seen him make finals and we've seen him play really well all year, and that scoring power from him has really sort of come to the fore this year, and just didn't quite make the most of it today. But it's a really good performance from him, from both of them really, and one of the better games we've seen.
Yeah, and of course Andrew Gilding, who at the start of the 2022-23 season was 122nd in the PDC order of merit, now only provisionally he's down to 41st, so a real rise back to the levels that we know. Just on Chizzy, I know we've talked about, you know, for example, Josh Rockham and the easy game that he's made the games out to be. For Dave Chisnall, a bit of a scare early on. Do you think that'll stand him in good stead for the tournament as it progresses?
I think so. Yeah, I think, like you say, it was a really tough game for him, and to come through it with a 3-1 win when he's sort of had to really battle and get through it, it's what you need early on. I think sometimes, like, you don't want to just be cruising through matches and thinking this is easy, and then you all of a sudden come up against someone in sort of like the fourth round or something that plays well against you, and all of a sudden you're a little bit undercut because you've not really been in a battle. I think the fact he's already got over the line is something it can only help him. And I mean, we know with Chizzy, he very rarely makes it look particularly easy, regardless of whenever he gets. But yeah, I think it's a good thing for him. I think it'll help him going forwards.
Yeah, well, that sets up a tie. Not to spoil what we're going to talk about later, but that does set a tie up with Stephen Bunting in the next round. So another really tough game for Dave Chisnall. But we'll get on to Stephen Bunting's game, the last game of tonight, in a couple of minutes. Into the evening session, and the first game that we saw, of course, was Mervyn King, and he was another player, Cam, who had to work hard for his win, having raced into a 2-0 lead against Danny Baggish with a final set decider. What did you make of Merv King? Because at 2-0, I kind of expected that to be that and the game to be done. But Danny Baggish just has a knack of hanging in on games.
He does. Danny Baggish is just, he loves being in a scrap, doesn't he? He loves fighting. And especially up on that world stage. I mean, it seems to be the best that we ever see him play, and it brings out the best of him. I actually thought Baggish should have won this game 3-0, to be honest. We say Merv raced into a 2-0 lead, but he didn't. He fell into a 2-0 lead, if anything. He could have should have lost both of those first two sets, really. And Baggish should have been sort of sat here thinking, right, one more win and I'm keeping my toe card here. But as it is, he's going to have to go back to Q-Skill now and fight his way back for it. But it was good from Merv as well. He did what we know he can do, and if you don't take your chance against him, he's going to punish you, and he always does. And it looked like he might not for a little bit when he went back to 2 each, but that final set was class from him, to be fair, and he got over the line pretty well in it.
Yeah, and a word on Merv King, who is a regular on our screens. 5-1-80s for him, 93.74 average. How do we think he's going to fare going later in the tournament? Because obviously up next is either Rob Cross or Scott Williams for Merv. So do we feel as if his performance, I know he's had a tough year, do we feel like he's still got it in him to potentially have a good run in the tournament?
He has, but he's going to have to play better than he did tonight. He can't give up those opportunities early on against either of those two, because I'll be honest, Scott Williams looked absolutely fantastic the other night, and Rob Cross, we know he's improved over the year, and he's got back to more of the Rob Cross that we're used to seeing and what we know he can do. So yeah, Merv's going to have to do a lot better than that. I think the biggest worry for him was how much he seemed to be struggling up on the stage, just with the heat and the rest of it. I mean, it was only a couple of days ago when it was freezing cold that people were the other way around on the stage and couldn't kind of get warm. But I think it's only about 7 degrees outside today, if that. So if Merv's struggling with the heat there, it's a little bit of a worry, especially when you get into the longer games, because that must have took a lot out of him tonight.
Yeah, and of course, we know what he's like in these longer games, and potentially come up against players who give it a little bit more. I know he doesn't really like the way MVG and Gerwen Price celebrate, but that's the way that Merv King is. I imagine, as you say, the longer the format goes, the endurance will be really questioned for him. But having said that, in the fifth set, obviously when he needed it the most,
that's the best he looked, to be fair. Yeah,
it was the best he looked with a 101 average. He still has it in there, doesn't he, to bring it when he needs it.
Yeah, even when he's looking a little bit down and out, it's that thing of right, one last effort, and he seemed to come through it. And yeah, if anything, like you say, it was the best he played, to be fair, that final set, and wrapped it up pretty comfortably in the end.
Yeah, 100%. Very, very a decent enough performance from Merv King. Then straight after them, it was Gabriel Clemens who stole the show against Willie O'Connor. Another game I completely didn't predict and think that this was the way it was going to go. But what a performance by the German, Cam.
Yeah, I certainly didn't see it going this way. I had Willie O'Connor winning this one, but fair play to Al from Al's Toy Bar, and he played well today. And if anyone gets that reference in the chat, you're never going to unsee it now. But yeah, he was fantastic tonight. I thought he played really, really well. A couple of really nice big finishes in there as well. And again, it was another one where Willie O'Connor missed a couple of opportunities and could have been 2-0 up himself in sets. But when it came to that third set, that was it. It was kind of over and done with, and Gabe wrapped it up pretty quickly.
I honestly cannot believe you have just referenced it looking like that, because I've just searched that up, and oh my God, if he comes out in a chicken suit, then that would be the end of me.
That'd be even better than Ricky Evans' walk on last night.
Oh, it would definitely be better than that. But of course, for Gabriel Clemens throughout the 3 sets, I know we've talked about doubling tonight, and we will continue to talk about people's doubling disasters. His was pretty decent tonight. 50% in the first set, 42 in the second, and 30 in the third. He was pretty clinical on the outer ring.
Yeah, it was, like you say, it was impressive, and I thought it was a very good performance.
Yeah, exactly that. A couple of people as well getting involved. Make sure you let us know exactly what you felt about the games so far. We've had some brilliant games, and of course, going on to probably the performance of the World Championship so far, and MVG, everyone's pick, most people's pick anyway, for the World Championship winner. That was something special tonight, wasn't it?
It was, and again, it's another one where it was probably more impressive because it was a game where Louis didn't turn up like we know he can, and like we've seen him do before, and seen him play in obviously the first round, and he'll probably be a little bit disappointed. But to not switch off in that game, which he could very easily have done MVG, to just keep it going and play at that level. I mean, that second set was just utterly outrageous. The 125 average, something like that. Yeah, it was class from him tonight, and like I said, the treble 19 from him were just, I don't think he missed one almost. It was that good on the switching from him as well, and yeah, he looked very good, but there will be tougher tests than that come, to be fair.
I guess I know we touched on Louis Williams. I imagine even if he'd have played at his best, he probably would have got maybe a set or maybe two against MVG. But I don't think he could have done much more. I don't know if you agree or not, but he just came up against an MVG that was really on it tonight.
Yeah, I think it was one of those games where Louis had to start fast and he had to get out the blocks, playing well, and probably win the first set. If he won the first set, he was in the game. As soon as he lost that, MVG there was sort of a bit of the jeopardy went there, and he sort of relaxed. And then in that second set, when he relaxed, he just threw in a ridiculous set that nobody could have lived with. And then from there, the game was pretty much done, and you knew that Louis was struggling a little bit at that point, and sort of just fighting to try and even just get a leg on the board at that point. But yeah, I just think we know there's a lot more in the locker from him. We saw how well he played in his first round game, and I suppose it's all learning experience. I mean, the guy's 20. Like he's got a long time to come back and have another go and keep making an impact on that stage. So I don't think he should be too downhearted about it. Like you say, realistically, even if he'd thrown his best game, he probably still loses that match today.
Yeah, and a word on Michael van Gerwen's next opponents, who will probably be watching that and won't be looking forward to taking him on, Mike Dedeker or Mensis Suljovic. Either of those players will be fearing the worst, I imagine, if MVG turns up like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Mike Dedeker played quite well the other night, but again, not at a level that is going to worry MVG in the slightest if he's even close to that sort of standard that he played at tonight. And I mean, we know what Mensa can do, but again, not one that's been in the greatest of form coming into this. And obviously, you can't really. We know Mensa likes a little slow it down or whatever he might do occasionally, even though he says he doesn't. But we know that he might try those tricks, but it doesn't work with MVG because once he gets to the stage, he generally he doesn't rush to the hockey anyway. Once he gets there, the rhythm is always the same anyway. So not one that he's really going to affect with that. So I think he cruises past either of them, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Well, before we touch on Stephen Bunting, I have been told that there are a couple of interview clips that are just loading in. So we'll first have a look at which one the first one is. And it's Josh Rock, who, of course, was victorious against Callan Ridds. Let's hear what he had to say.
The Josh Rock hasn't come out yet, but at the same time, it's hard for everybody to perform the way they want to on that stage because we're all there for a reason. We all want to be world champion, so I need to wake up. That'll be a really good game because obviously he'd be out to beat me from last time European Championships, but I know I beat him, I know I'm going to do it again. Yeah, because I'm not performing, so I need to learn to wake up and just forget about it, to be quite honest. But at the same time, as I said, we're all there to want to be world champion, so everybody's trying that extra bit harder.
Wow, Cam, that's quite a scary thought, isn't it? That the best Josh Rock hasn't come out yet.
Well, that's it. And I mean, to be fair, he didn't today. We both kind of said that, but I just love his confidence. And even though, I mean, we've seen it this week from Scott Williams as well, where the confidence that the pair have got in their ability is just something else. But Josh is a little bit more reserved about the way he talks about it. He's still, you can tell he's confident, but he's not sort of shouting it from the rooftops the same way Scott does. But that's just Scott's character. He's probably a little bit more of an extrovert than Josh is. But yeah, there are levels that he can still go to. That, I mean, we saw how well he played in that game where he hit the 9 against MVG, and basically chucked it at him backwards and forwards for the entire game, basically. He was nowhere near that today, and that's a scary thought for anyone that he comes up against.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a couple more clips as well that come in. Next up, it's Martijn Cleere, who, as we say, took an easy performance against Zicheng Han. He was speaking to Phil Bars after his 3-0 win.
Not in the beginning, because I was searching in a database from Jacques Nieuwlaat and there was no information. So I was, okay, keep it to yourself, go throw your own game. And then after 2-0, I was thinking too easy, and that may not happen. But I win, and that's the most important thing.
There you go. Fair enough from Martijn Cleere, and then Dave Chisnall as well. A bit of a longer clip, this one, after he beat Andrew Gilding 3-1 in a 180 fest.
I won't say something to prove. I'm just glad that there's no COVID because it hurt me that last year. Because I thought I was playing well. I won my first game quite easily, and I thought, yeah. I got down. I did my COVID test, and I did 12 of them. And all 12 was positive, so unfortunately for me, I couldn't play.
Looking at the tournament as a whole, that's one of the standout performances. Do you feel you're one of the favourites here this year, the way you've played across the whole year?
I won't say one of the favourites, but if I play my A game, I'm going to be one of the favourites. I'm going to be hard to beat. But like you say, darts is so much luck you need, and to win big tournaments. I'm going to need a bit of it this year if I want to win it.
There you go.
Everyone's pretty confident, aren't they? Everyone fancies a bit.
Everyone is pretty confident, aren't they, really? Everyone fancies their bit. Bear in mind, that was pre-MVG performance. So
yeah,
I think that's maybe a bit more reserved. And then just, I think this may be the final clip that we've got in at the moment, but Mervyn King, he spoke to Phil after getting over the line in his match.
My whole year has been absolute crap, to be honest with you. I've been trying my backside off and getting nowhere. Not been playing well, and that was all from a lot of early games here. First in the afternoon. It kills you. It absolutely knackers you. And hence the reason I didn't play at all, really, against James Wade last year. And he's like, oh, we've done a number on him. Well, you're going to if you feel like I done. It's not hard. And that carried on the whole year. So normally I have 2 or 3 months of playing bad and it comes back. But it was just bad all year, to be fair. Hence the reason I missed a match play. Hence the reason I missed the Grand Prix. But hopefully now these will start coming good and turning things around.
There you go. That was Merv King as well there speaking to Phil. We'll have reaction from MVG, but we'll just break in play there just to chat on the final game of night 7. And it was Stephen Bunting, Cam, who got over the line against Leonard Gates, a game that neither player dominated on the outer ring. Stephen Bunting kind of essentially fell over the finishing line, but essentially he's got the job done. Yeah,
he did in the end. I mean, it was where we probably all expected it to go. I love me some Leonard Gates. I mean, I just can't help but smile when I watch him. Like, from the walk-on to when he's giving it a bit, when he's at 140 or a decent score, or he's took the finish out and he's giving it a little chest bang and he's pointing at the camera and pointing at the crowd and he's just strolling around and bouncing around like he's the happiest guy in the world. And that first set, I was just smiling watching all of it. But Stephen did well, I don't want to say did well to come back from that, because I'll be honest, there was some absolute horror shows in there. Some of the legs. I mean, the one where they were both faffing around on double for what felt like an hour and a half was painful. And then there was the point where Gates left 10, and I sat there and I just said out loud to myself, I went, "Oh, he's left himself 10 again. Anything could happen here." Like, because from the other day when he was splitting it and then not splitting it, and then I was like, what's he going to do? Is he going to bust it again trying to split it? And it was just, it was still enjoyable to watch, even though it wasn't the greatest of games. And actually, to say he missed 34 doubles, Stephen Bunting, he still averaged over 90, which shows you that he's actually played pretty well, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, again, Leonard Gates, just touching on him, what an addition he has been this year. I mean, that one you touched on when he's taken out onto double five, and he sometimes splits before he goes for it, and then maybe he'll go for it, miss, then he'll split. He's great to watch. And to be honest, in the early stages of the match, yeah, okay, Stephen Bunting's doubling wasn't the best, but he was still in this game till quite late on.
Oh, he was playing great. I mean, his scoring was the opposite of the other day, where we saw him win by being better on the outer ring and maybe not scoring as well. Today we saw him just score brilliantly from the start. Really, the 140s that he hit, like he finished up with 14 140s, I think, in the match, and he played really well and scored really well, but struggled massively on the outer ring. But yeah, he's just an enjoyable bloke to watch, isn't he? And I'd have him in every tournament. Can we just give him a wild card to every tournament? We'll just let him play, because I want to watch him.
I'd be definitely up for that. Well, Dave Chisnall waits in the next round for Stephen Bunting, and here's exactly what he had to say after his win.
There's always obviously extra pressure on yourself when you're defending big money, and obviously I want to be in the Masters as well, so I need to be in the top 24. I think I've dropped to 25 with the money off, but like I said, I'm playing better than ever. I don't really care who I play. I can get up there and just try and do my job, and the consistency will flow, and that's the main thing. I want to win it. I think any player who's here wants to win this title. Do I believe I can win it? Of course I do. I think 2 years ago I was really unlucky playing Gerwen Price, to be fair, and I had chances in that game that it could have swung either way. I think even in the Grand Slam 2 years ago, when I lost to Gerwen in the semi-finals, I was unlucky. So I think I'm knocking on the door. But like I said, this year on TV, I've been terrible. Now I need to knuckle down. I'm practicing again. I can do some damage.
There you go. Great honesty from Stephen Bunting. And finally, Cam, before we look ahead to tomorrow night's 8 games that we've got, Michael van Gerwen sat down after his impressive victory tonight.
They always fear me. And I don't have to play well for them to fear me. That makes it even better for myself. But overall, I think it's not that I have to give away messages anymore. People know what I'm capable of, and when I keep performing what I did tonight, then the rest will come automatically. But everyone always thinks it's easy, but it's not easy. I have to fight for it really hard as well. But I'm feeling comfortable, and that's, for me, at this stage in the tournament, really important.
Is this the best you've felt coming into a World Championship in a few years?
Yeah, but I felt really good last year as well, and I've been taken out last year because of COVID, but that's gone, that's history. So you need to look to the future, and the future looks bright for me.
It definitely does look bright for MVG in the future. Well, of course, it's now got to the point of the show when we look forward to the Thursday night action, and again, double session for you tomorrow. We'll predict them. Let us know exactly what you think as well, as we head towards that Christmas break. And first up, Cam, getting us underway, it's Krzysztof Ratajski against Danny Jansen. If both players are at their best, this could be a really tough game. Which way do you see it going?
Yeah, it's one of those, like you say, it could be very close if they're both at the best. Don't think we saw the best from Danny Jansen a couple of days ago in his first round game, but he did well to get over the line. He's going to have to be better than that if he's going to go through this one, but I just think Krzysztof's just got a level that's just above him, and I think he goes through 3-1 for me. Yeah,
I was thinking the same. I mean, Declan Mason, Jack Nolte, G's Adventures all saying Ratajski to win 3-2, but I would go with 3-1. I just think that experience on the stage may just stand him in good stead. Next up, then we have Adam Gavlas versus Ryan Searle. Another game that, if, for example, for potential Ryan Searle isn't on his best game, Cam, and Adam Gavlas is, we could potentially see an upset here.
Yeah, it's another one where, like you say, it's going to come down to. I mean, if Searle is at his best, he should come through it. But if he's not quite at his best, and obviously it's his first game up there of the week, Gavlas has already played up there, and he's played well to come through. He could give him a lot of bother, and I think this is one that we see go close. I do think Searle gets over the line, but in a tight one, I think it goes 3-2.
Yeah, I'm a lot of love for heavy metal in the chat room. So thank you for getting involved with that. I'm going 3-1 for Ryan Searle. I think he just picks up, I guess, where we know he can perform. And I agree with David, Mr. David P 180. It depends on Gavlas. Yeah, it does. It depends on what sort of player we get as to whether the game goes close or not. Then the third and penultimate game in the afternoon session. And again, if Mike Dedeker is on form in this game, he could easily blow Mensa Suljovic out the water in this game.
Yeah, I thought he played quite well the other day. And I actually think we see him win this one. The battle that probably neither of them actually particularly want to win now after what they know's waiting for them.
Yeah.
But I think Mike Dedeker wins this 3-2.
Yeah. Jack siding with Mencia. Bob, Mike Dedeker 3-1. I would say 3-1 to Mike Dedeker. As long as he performs as we know he has, and in the last couple of years when he's been on that World Championship stage, or when he's been, for example, in I don't know, the Grand Slam or televised tournaments, he's really struggled, hasn't he, with his performances? But I expect a better version of himself, and I think he wins 3-1 against Mensa Suljovic. Next up, I can kind of hope. I hope I can guess what Cam's going to predict for the next one. It's Karel Sedlacek versus Dirk van Dijvenbode. I imagine you're going to predict near enough the same as what I will for this game, but do we have any chance of an upset?
I think we do. I actually thought Karel played really well the other day against Raymond Smith. I thought, do I think you beat Dirk? No. But again, it's another one where if Dirk's not quite at it, if Karel plays like he did, I mean, he averaged close to a ton, I think, in one of the better performances we've seen of the first round. I do think he's got a chance. That being said, I'm going 3-1 Dirk. So as much as I think he's got a chance, I don't think it will be quite enough, because I think Dirk's played well recently, and I think he'll do a number on him. Yeah,
I think he wins 3-0 in this one, actually. I think he just has far too much for Karel Sedlacek. But, and not to tempt fate, and, Ross Smith may not get through his game against Darius Lewandowskis, but Cam, what a game that could be. If Dirk gets through and Ross Smith gets through, that could be a really mouth-watering tie.
Yeah, give me all that game. I'm there for that. I want to see that. I want more sets. I want that to be sort of over 7, but that's just a great game. I mean, we've seen how well Ross has done this year, picking up his first big title as well, and we know what Dirk can do, especially when he's at it and the 180s are flowing. Yeah, that's just got a great game all over it, that.
Yeah, 100%. Heading into the evening session then, 4 more games tomorrow night. And one of the players that gets underway, Cam, has really gone under the radar. No one's been speaking about Gary Anderson, and he finds himself on the stage again against Madars Razma. Do we see this as a straightforward game for the Flying Scotsman, or is he going to be embroiled in a bit of a battle?
I really don't know. I don't know what to expect. We've not really seen him for a while. And I do love me some Gary Anderson, but I think he could be in a little bit of danger here, because if Razma sticks to the 19s and stops faffing about at the top of the board, because he's just a much better player when he just throws at 19s all the time. We saw it in his first round game, where as soon as he switched down to the 19s, he was a completely different player and averaged probably about 15 points better. If he does that, and he quite fancied it when Phil interviewed him afterwards the other night, He said last time he played Gary up on this stage, he was kind of just there for the experience of playing Gary because Gary was his favourite player. He said this time he's been there, he's had that experience. Now he just wants to go up there and he just wants to go up there and play. So he's going to be up for it. But I can't pick against Gary. It just my heart won't let me. So 3-2 Gary Anderson.
I think what Jack, who's just commented there, said in the chat room is that he may lose one of the first 2 sets. Do you think that may be the case, that if he doesn't warm up early doors, he may find himself behind? But we know that his firepower, his checkout percentages will be up there, that he could essentially blow Madars Razma away later on in the game.
Yeah, and he could. And if Gary's at it, then yeah, he could very easily do that. But like I say, we've not seen him up there for a while, and we don't know where his game's at, how much he likes to tell us that he never practices as well, which I'm not sure I believe. I'm not sure I've ever believed that he doesn't practice, but I think he'll have put some work in, because you can't just come into this event completely cold. Not someone who's got a record as good as they have on this stage as well. And I think he will have a little bit too much when it comes down to it, but I think it will be close, and I think Razma gets a couple of sets off him. But
yeah, I'm in the 3-1 category. Lots of love for Gary Anderson. I don't think anyone's backed Madars Razma to get an upset win there. So everyone in Gary Anderson's camp. Next up, we see James Wade, the world number 8, take to the stage for the first time against Jim Williams. And Cam, I imagine for Jim Williams, his doubling will have to be so much better if he wants to cause an upset tomorrow night. Yeah,
I mean, he was not particularly good the other day until probably the last sort of 4 or 5 legs. And he said afterwards that he kind of slightly underestimated Sebastian Bielacci, and I would kind of give him a little bit of stick for it afterwards, saying that for someone like Jim Williams, who's not particularly done a great deal this year, he shouldn't be underestimating anyone going into a Worlds, because he's got to be at his best, and regardless of who he's playing, he definitely won't be doing that for this game. I mean, nobody underestimates James Wade. We know what James Wade can do, and if you miss an opportunity against him, you know what's going to happen. You're not going to get another one. But I think those last few legs from Jim, if he can play at that level, he's got a real good chance. And I'm going to pick him for the upset here. And again, it's going to be tight because no one's blowing Wade away. Let's be real. No one's going in there and 3-0 him. But 3-2, Jim Williams just about sneaks over the line.
Wow, God would not be happy if he was here. If he was here,
that's the thing. I'm not even doing it just to try and get a rise out of God. He's not even here.
Yeah, I think James Wade wins. I think he wins 3-1. I think Jim Williams will get a set off him. But I think it's just his consistency and his performance levels will tell. Next up, Cam, what an impressive run of form Luke Humphries has been on a rise to 5th in the world. He takes on Florian Hempel. Not the easiest of games for Humphries, but do you feel like his recent form could stand him in much better stead to cruise through this match?
I think so, yeah. I think Luke's just playing too well this year, and I can't really see Florian getting near him. I know he had a really good run last year, his first time up there, but I don't see many people beating Luke Humphries right now. You're going to have to play some serious darts to get even near him. And I think Humphries wins this one. I think he wins it 3-0.
Very, very one-sided. Well, not what Bob says. I'll pop his comment up in a second for you, Cam, to see. Florian Hempel, another surprise.
Yeah,
wow.
I wouldn't write him off at all after what he did last year, but I just can't see it in this one.
Yeah, I'm very much in the category of Luke Humphries winning 3-0. I think he just puts in such an impressive performance. He's been in quite exceptional form recently, and his rise to 5th in the world has been so impressive. So I think he wins and gets through to the next round. And our final game of the evening, this one might be quite a hard one to call, really. Cameron Menzies taking on Vincent van der Voort. Could we be seeing that 5-set decider that we all want to see?
Possibly. I mean, first of all, you've got to give him his full Sunday name, as Sky will give him. That is Fallon Sherrock's partner, Cameron Menzies.
Yeah.
No, you can't just call him by his own name. That's not allowed. I don't think we see it. I don't think it goes all the way in this one. I like Vincent to win it 3-1. I just think the scoring power will probably be a little bit too much. And if that first start starts going in with the speed he throws at and the way he can follow that first start, I think he might just give himself too many chances and get over the line a little bit more comfortably than possibly it could be.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1. 3-1 to Vincent van der Voort, getting over Fallon Sherrock's partner, Cameron Menzies, as he's known now. Thanks for Cam for pointing that one out. But yeah, thank you for everyone for getting in touch tonight. Mr. David P180 says Menzies too erratic. In there's a couple of people that fancy Menzies. Declan Mason's one who does, but a couple of others who were saying that Vincent van der Voort will win 3-2. So thanks to everyone who's tuned in this evening. Remember, you can catch all the interviews on our social media channels. Just make sure you click on the link. It'll take you to our YouTube channel, where, of course, you can get all the in-depth interviews with the winners that won tonight. And, of course, we'll be back for the same again tomorrow for night 8. I think it may be you again, Cam. Is it back on again?
It is me. I think it's me and Gob again tomorrow. So
brilliant.
I enjoy giving him a little bit when my prediction comes true and James Wade gets beat.
Yeah, he'll be watching that. I don't know what he'll be thinking of that. But again, we'll be back at the same time tomorrow. So from all of us here at Online Darts, from myself, Charlie, and of course from Cam, thank you very much for watching, for listening, and we'll of course see you all soon.